How you doing, everybody? I hope you're all well. It's Wednesday. It's the 1st of August 2012 and it's later on in the afternoon, and I'm going to try and keep this as brief as I can. I just want to talk about three things, three issues that arose. They're all centered around the concept of equity under the law. Now, I always go on about you know me, you've seen me many times, and you've always heard me get on about there's one law for the rich and the powerful, there's another law for the ordinary people. And over the last week we've had three clear demonstrations of that in the courts in Ireland. And the first one was about, and I've put three separate links up to these if you want to read about them, because you have to go into the details of them and all the rest of it. But I'll try and be as brief as I possibly can. The first case was about a week or 10 days ago, and it occurred in the west of Ireland. And what happened was a circuit court judge was stopped by a Garda. This all happened about 6 or 7 months ago, and it was brought to court last week. An extraordinary thing, actually, because the Garda must be some Garda, I tell you. He wants a medal. This Garda wants a medal for what he did. He brought a justice to court, a circuit court justice, because he believed that he had alcohol consumed when in possession of a car. And what happened was the judge refused to give him a sample of his breath to blow into the breathalyzer bag. So he was brought up in front of another judge last week. Now what you have to imagine yourself very quickly. You're in a court, except I'm going to qualify that again. There was no court reporters. The prostitutes never turned up to report on this. So what took place effectively took place in secret, unless there were members of the public there. But it doesn't matter. There was no one there to report in a public manner what took place within the confines of the court. And what you had is, you had a circuit court judge as a defendant and another district court judge, his inferior, trying him. Do you understand? And of course what happened? He tried him and he found him obviously guilty, and he fined him €600. Big problem is, if you want to put it as a problem, not a problem for anybody except for us. Put that €600 in terms of this man earns at least 147,000 a year. So put that into context. Do you understand? You have to put that in the direct context. This is a minutia. Okay? And it was not, while it was a public court, there was no prostitutes there to report what took place. So we have one judge trying another judge, his superior. He tries his superior in court and he fines him €600. Now, to put this in real context, a friend of mine 3 years ago found himself in a Dublin district court being tried by a justice for the same thing, except he gave he blew into the breathalyzer bag. He was fined €3,000 and he was banned for 3 years, almost 3 years. He had no licence. And he's just an ordinary Joe. So that puts that into context. That's the first thing. So we've got judges trying judges. We've got inferior judges trying superior judges. Basically in secret, behind closed doors, and nobody to witness what took place, except the clerk of the court maybe, and the guard who give evidence. Then we move on to the second one. The second case is a man lives in Dublin. He's a very wealthy guy. He buys and sells aeroplanes. That's what he does. He buys and sells and leases aeroplanes on a world scale. He's obviously very wealthy by any standard, any manner of means. What does he do? Approximately 100 to 150 yards from where he lives. It shows you the arrogance of these people. He attempts to rape a woman at 12:30 at night, the early hours of the morning. This is several months back, and it ends up in court 2 days ago. Alright? Now, he pleaded not guilty, but the evidence against him was overwhelming. Huge tranche of evidence to support that he did what he did. Okay? And the citizens of Dublin who sat on the jury found him guilty. The judge hands him a 6-year sentence, but what does the judge do? The judge suspends 5.5 years of it and gives him a 6 months sentence, which means he'll do between 4 and 4.5 months. That's what he'll do. He'll do between 4 and 4.5 months for attempted rape, for the attempted rape of a young girl, a young woman. Now he has to pay compensation of €75,000, but again, if you're a very wealthy person, €75,000 is a small amount of money. The woman didn't want compensation. The woman was demanding what she thought was justice. And I keep telling people, that is an illusion. There's no such thing as justice. There only is the law. End of story. The barristers down in the Four Courts of Ireland in Dublin, that's where they have their law library, where they're centred. They laugh, and when they have a few drinks in them, they tell you, if you want satisfaction, you go to a brothel. If you want the law, you come to the law library of the Four Courts in Dublin. And that's correct. This business about justice is all balls. We have an English law system that has taken hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years to put together. The difference between the Irish law system and the English law system is in minutiae. There's no substantial difference. If you train as a lawyer in Ireland, essentially you can practice in England. If you train as a lawyer in England, essentially you can practice in Ireland. That's the way it is. The differences are tiny. This is post-colonial Ireland we live in. It's a republic in name only, essentially. Anyway, what that court said to that man was very, very simple. Slapped him on the back of the hand. It said, you attempted to rape this woman. You've got to give her some money. Not a huge amount of money. By your standards, a comparatively easy amount of money to get together. You'll have to sell something off or mortgage something or whatever. Raise the money and you go and you do 4 months. Because we have to be seen to be putting you in prison. Now go in and behave yourself. Then yesterday morning, we had an extraordinary situation. A man flies in from Portugal, ex-PROVO, ex-hunger striker. He flies in to the Supreme Court in Dublin. And he appears in front of the Supreme Court in Dublin. When he arrived in Ireland, there were 2 arrest warrants out to him by 2 individual judges of the of the High Court. 2, not 1, 2. Nobody arrested him. Nobody interfered with him. He went down to the Supreme Court and he got one of them voided. But there was still another. There was still another arrest warrant out for him. Now this man, I don't really want to say an awful lot about this man, except that he was one of the most wealthiest and most important men in the property development element in Ireland. But his behaviour, subsequent and been put under financial pressure, has been abominable towards the people that he built dog boxes all over Dublin and put people in, hundreds of people into them. And now they're all put out of them because they're essentially fire hazards and safety hazards, and people couldn't live in them. They were put out onto the street. The whole thing is a shambles. But he can fly in from Portugal, and he's probably gone back to Portugal today, even though there's arrest warrants out for him. So that shows you what goes on in Ireland. As I've told you, this is just me having my little tuppence worth. It's very simple. If you're part of that elite, you can get away literally with blue murder in this country. But if you're an ordinary person, an ordinary citizen, bend over, you're going to get it where the sun doesn't shine. That's the way of it. That's the world we live in. Okay, we talk more.